Hi, I'm Ken Rigel from the Ken Rigel Group. We are on with Trung from the Trung Real Estate Team and Jonathan Popowich from Popowich and Company. And we like to get together and we like to just talk about real estate and what's going on in the market and just sort of get some perspective on what is happening. So thanks, guys, for coming on today. We're talking pricing today. We're in a crazy market. We got multiple offers happening all over the place. I know in my world, I've got buyers that are asking me, well, what should I pay for this house? And honestly, our answer right now is probably more than the last one paid, and just last person paid for the same house. And we're just trying to figure that out. Now, you guys work in pretty specific markets. So, John, you're a luxury guy. You work in that upper end part of the world. What are you seeing as far as pricing goes on the buy and sell side? And what advice are you giving your clients on both sides when it comes to pricing in this crazy market?
The luxury market is it's always sort of an interesting niche market when it comes to pricing, whether it's sort of a down market or a bit of an up market. And I think that the big thing, regardless of what market you're in, is just trying to manage expectations, because what's on the newspaper right now is just newspaper. Who reads a newspaper? But you know what I'm saying.
The
Like
online newspaper.
I miss the newspaper. But yeah, really when people are looking at this and they're seeing their neighbor's house selling for 200 grand above asking price or whatever, I think there's a natural tendency for some sellers to maybe get a little bit greedy. And so sometimes, especially in the luxury market, we have to try to manage expectations, bring people back down to earth, to say, at the end of the day, this is still what the data says, and how many homes above 3 million have actually sold, or above 4 million have actually sold. And I think once people see that, then they sort of understand, okay, we should maybe be a little bit more reasonable with our price. But that said, when it comes to actually pricing it, I think we're kind of getting back to that time now where we can actually start considering things like replacement value. So historically, the thing that a seller would always say would be, I can't sell this thing for 3 million. It would cost me 4 million just to build it. Which is true, and buyers don't care. They don't care what
Yeah,
replacement is.
for sure they don't.
However, now with there being such a lack of inventory and the option of building, because there's not as much dirt available, there's not the pain in the butt factor to build, the cost to build, they are starting to equalize a little bit. And so that is now a consideration, is replacement value, dirt value, and pain in the butt factor. And then we put together a price. So yeah.
Okay. And do you use price per square foot at all in your market? I was on a listing presentation this week, $2.5 million house, and the guy was really hung up on price per square foot. I struggle with price per square foot pricing those homes because they're custom homes and every home is so different. Do you use that as a metric when you're pricing?
I I hate price per square foot. And truthfully, like when an agent comes in and they're bringing me an offer, and the first thing out of their mouth when they're trying to negotiate their price is, well, based on a price per square foot, to me that's almost just a sign of inexperience in that particular market, because you could have the same four walls of a house, but when it comes to fit and finish of what we actually have inside those walls, that's where you can see a crazy difference on price. So I'll give you an example. I went to a listing appointment here, just west, about 5 minutes west of my office. And this house is a monster. Like, it's probably 12,000 square feet above grade. But it's probably one of the crappiest builds I've ever seen, just to put it lightly.
And did you say that right in the listing presentation? Because I bet you they signed on the dotted line as soon as you said that.
Yeah, I didn't quite say it like that. I mean, I did point out the obvious. I think you have an obligation to be very real with people and say, like, hey, look, at the end of the day, when you have a house like this is what buyers are looking for. So as an example, we're talking about like just regular furnaces. There was no fan coils, there was no boilers. They didn't
No
even
inflate
have
heat, none of that
hydronic
stuff.
heating. Like, they didn't even
Wow.
have in-slab heat, no heated garages, double pane windows. Like, it was just I felt bad for the people that owned the house, because I mean, ultimately it was them making the decision, but you would think that they would have got some sound advice from their builder and from their architect and from everybody along the way, saying, hey, if you're building a 12,000 square foot house, you should probably invest some money into these specific areas. So
Yeah.
so on a price per square, you take that 12,000 square foot house and then you put it right beside something else with triple glazed windows and full bed stone and inch and an eighth plywood and fan coils and all that stuff. And there's absolutely no comparison. So we'll see a range of $300 a square foot all the way up to $1,800 a square foot, depending on what the property is in that market.
Cool. Are you and let's talk about multiple offers in the luxury market. Are you seeing multiple offers in certain price points, or is it kind of hit or miss in that market? Tell us how that's working on the listing side when you're getting an offer.
Yeah, 2 million is a hard ceiling. So I feel like probably 1.5 is the new million. And when I say the new million, I'm talking about in comparison to like maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
Got it.
But when people are talking about that $1 million house, I think that's probably a $2 million house. And so really, as soon as you breach 2 million, that threshold is huge, and we're not really seeing a lot in the way of multiples. Like I've maybe had two multiple offer situations above 2 million in the last 365 days. But as soon as you can get to that 199, then now you're opening it up for multiples, and you'll
Yeah.
probably see that thing sell above 2 million.
Awesome. Cool. Great perspective on the luxury market. Trung, you do a ton of inner city stuff, lots of new builds. You're an expert in that market. So let's talk about pricing in that market. So on the listing side for you right now, what are you doing when you're advising, say, a builder on how they should be pricing their next product? What does your process look like?
When it comes to pricing the infills, I find that many of them are kind of very similar because they're all built on like 25-foot lots or 50-foot lots subdivided to 25-foot lots. And then they're all the similar, same square footage. So I usually look at the comparables that were built in the same vintage. So for infills, I kind of look at like the same vintage of it was when it was built. So compare new builds with new builds, and then, a 5-year-old home with other infills that are 5 years old.
Right.
In terms of price per square foot, I personally do use it as a metric, but it's important that it's compared to apples. So, like a new infill that is the same size that sold a month ago, and then like a listing presentation I'm doing, I look at that and I see that this one sold at a similar price per square foot. And then if there is any variance in it, then you got to just look really closely to see what the difference in specification is. So for me personally, I do use like kind of a price per square foot as a metric. It's not the end all be all, but it does help when you're comparing maybe two single family homes that are different in size, but when you look at the listings, they're similar fit and finish.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So
Inside the city, I would say definitely you can start using price per square foot, like apartment style condos and stuff like that too. That's where price per square foot comes in. But yeah, I agree with both of you on that front. So then talk about your clients that are not builders, then some of that inner city type stuff. How are you advising them now when they're going to sell, say, a piece of land or a property that could be redeveloped?
When it comes to selling a piece of land, I think you can. The demand for land is huge right now. So if you price it fair, it's gonna sell more than it should. It's every single sale that comes up sells marginally higher than the previous sale, and then the builders act really fast. So and then they're willing to pay. They're willing to pay a premium to get that secure that land if they can just secure it because with these builders you don't eat if you don't got dirt. When it comes to go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and so what have you seen as far as the more desirable lots over, say, the past few years? I've seen a few things change, but what are you seeing that builders are mostly going after right now?
The demand for
Like, is it
lots that
corner
are on
lot? I've seen a lot of
corners.
corner lots change. I've actually seen corner lots go from ultra undesirable to some of the most desirable dirt in the last 5 years. Are you experiencing the same thing?
Totally. So the demand for anything that can fit a townhouse development, so corners, even mid-block, but let's talk corners specifically. I'd say that's probably the most desirable piece of dirt for builders now, mainly because of what's permitted to be built on them and the financing that you can put on those townhouse developments. So because of what you can build on them, the density, and then also the financing arrangements, it makes them incredibly desirable, which drove up the price of land. Now, like a corner lot inner city, that's pretty much fetching around $1 million plus or minus 100,000, for the typical lot. So the demand is huge, right? And at that price point, many builders would see that there's still an opportunity there.
And so when you say the demand is huge, are you seeing multiple offers on pretty much everything? And is there a price cap in that world that you're seeing multiple offers stop at, sort of like the luxury world?
For land, I would say that it's multiple offers for sure, without a doubt. I don't know if there's a price cap because it really depends on the quality of the dirt and then the number of units you can put on that parcel. For luxury, I would say that I've seen, yeah, just like what JP said, like that 1.5 million, 1.7, 1.8 million. for a single family home inner city, extremely desirable. Extremely desirable. So a lot of people are snapping up, are trying to get that secure that home.
Okay. And what advice are you giving to those buyers as they're coming into the market? You know, they're trying to snap those homes up on what used to be $1 million not too long ago. Now they got to spend $1.5 million. What advice are you giving them? Say if they've missed out on a couple of homes, or maybe they are in a multiple offer. What's your strategy when you go into a situation like that?
For me, when I work with buyers, pretty much for the last 2 years, everything's kind of selling pretty much at all-time highs for each product type. So, working with buyers, I personally even get the jitters when I see them buying at an all-time high. But it seems interesting that like a couple weeks later, a couple months later, when you see other comparable homes get listed and you see them sell for higher, then it just gives you a little bit of peace of mind that as long as the market's going in the trajectory that's going, and you're looking to keep it for 5+ years, it should all work out, right? But it's important to not extend yourself at this time.
For sure. And are there, so for both of you guys, are there metrics you guys are watching that you find valuable, like to see if there is a turn in the market? Like, for me, I'm always watching new listings to standing inventory. So new listings are the total number of listings that came out that month. Standing inventory is what's left at the end of the month. I'm looking for consecutive months of growth in both of those, and standing inventory growing over a long period of time. And that can indicate something. Are you guys looking at certain things and advising your clients on any of those metrics?
I look at month over month new listing inventory just to see if there is more inventory coming up compared to the previous month.
Right.
That's a metric I look at. And these days I look at more median price versus average price, as I think that's more of a realistic measure of how much home prices have gone up, median versus instead of average.
You guys don't use benchmark price at all?
Well, yes, I do. But it's when you compare month over month or year over year, it's comparing it with the median average price change.
Got it. Cool. So, and so for both of you, like, what do you guys see happening? What are you telling buyers right now? Are you saying this is, there's tons of runway left, I don't know where the market's going, or is it get in now, or you're going to miss out? Like, what's the advice you're giving buyers right now?
I think it depends on who the buyer is and why they're buying as well. I know that the agents on my team that do quite a bit more buyer work than I do, it's a grind, as you guys know. Like, it's an incredibly frustrating process. Buyer fatigue is a very real thing. Admittedly, we've had a couple of buyers that have just totally burnt out, and they've decided to just, forget it. Like, we're just going to pause for a month or two, and then we're going to come back at it after they've lost out on 5 or 6 or 7 offers, when all 5, 6, or 7 offers have been unconditional and above asking price. So I think it's just being very clear on expectations, regardless of your type of buyer, and sitting down, taking the time to do the buyer presentation, taking the time to show them some examples, to say, look, here are some examples of properties that have transacted. It's kind of what you're looking at. Here's one that sold 50 above asking price. Here's one that sold 60 above asking. If you can set that expectation early on so that you're not having to do that coaching when they're actually putting pen to paper and things are emotional and they really want the property, I think it's important to do that just to get them in the right mindset as they're out there checking out homes. So it just saves the agents a lot of grief, and I think it saves the clients a lot of grief too.
Cool. Well, guys, I really, really appreciate your time as always. It's always fun to just sit down and chat with you guys like we usually do. It's a crazy market out there, and for us, it just feels like we're just running like crazy lots of times, and then we're missing out on so many multiple offers, but we're also getting so many multiple offers, and it is about educating your clients about, look, you might miss this one. Let's build a better strategy for the next one, and getting them in tune with what the market is actually doing. Well, I appreciate it, guys. Have an awesome week, and we will chat with you again soon.
Right on. Have a good week, guys. Take care.
See you later.